Hi, Marcos, what's going on? You're gonna notice something brand new here for YouTube. If you're listening on radio, get over to my YouTube channel. You're gonna like what we got here. First ever video interview. It's none other than a very good friend of mine. Yes, you can see it right here on YouTube. The one and only Max Portnoy, who
Hello.
is a double threat, just like you said. He's got next to none, and more importantly, his latest band, Tallah.
Mhm.
So, first of all, Max, before we get into everything, how are you doing? How's everything been with the pandemic? How are you going?
I'm good. I'm enjoying, obviously, I don't enjoy the fact that we're in a pandemic because I'd love to be out playing shows and going around traveling, but I've been able to keep myself like occupied during the, quarantine. I've been practicing a lot of, with our set, and we've been doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff like music videos and just all sorts of stuff. So we've been keeping busy, and I like being inside anyway, so I'm okay just being locked inside working on band stuff or playing video games. So I'm cool with it. But yeah, we've been good. We're making sure we're all staying at home and being safe.
That's good to hear it. Kind of doing the same thing here. A lot of video games, a lot of time on Twitch. So I definitely know where you're coming from with that.
Hmm. Yeah.
Very much. I would rather be on the shows too, but we're gonna do what we have to do with what's going on. Glad to hear everyone's safe.
Hmm.
And before we get into the first full-length album, I want to have you fill people in a little bit on Tower because a lot of people were introduced to you originally with Next to None, which is a great band, two strong albums. How did Tower come to be before we
Um,
talk about the album?
mhm. So I had always been a big fan of just metal music. Obviously, I appreciate like all types of music, and I obviously still like prog, but I had always wanted to do like a real kind of extreme metal band, kind of taking what I grew up with, which was like the old new metal bands like Korn and Slipknot and stuff, and kind of just doing something new with it and incorporating all these sort of modern metal elements. So that was something I'd always wanted to do, and the timing just felt right back when I formed Tala and everything because Nexon was kind of going on a hiatus type thing. But yeah, so I put together Tala and I took Derek with me. He was from Nexon as well, just because he's an amazing guitarist and everything, and want to keep working together. So yeah, we just kind of put together this band, and I wanted to really do something where I can just play shows, go crazy, and have fun, and not really worry about playing really technical, intricate stuff. So it's just kind of more fun, for me.
Now, when it came to putting the band together, you reached out to Justin Bryant over on YouTube. When did you know that that was your frontman for Tyler?
Um, I had seen Justin's videos for a while before I even thought about putting Tala together. I had just kind of come across him on YouTube, and I never thought I would be in a band with him or reach out to try and be in a band. I just thought he was a great vocalist, and I followed him. And then when we were kind of scrambling to find a vocalist, I was like, I really the big thing for me was finding someone that's unique, who has their own voice and their own sound, because that's always really important. I didn't want to have a band and then just kind of have a vocalist that blended in with everyone else. And we are just looking for people, and someone mentioned like, just go on YouTube, try and find some people. And like one of Justin's videos got recommended again, so I was just like, oh, I forgot about this guy. He's pretty sick. So we reached out to him, and Justin, loved the instrumental, and he was down to do it. So it just kind of worked out. He was pretty much perfect in terms of like he's got obviously a great attitude and energy. You can see it in his videos. So he's just very into this type of music, and his voice is doesn't sound like anyone else, and his the way he writes is obviously really unique too. So it was a perfect fit for what we were trying to do.
Yeah, at what point did Justin come into the picture? Because I know you had started doing some of the writing for Tallah before you reached out and got Justin
Hmm.
involved. How much of the original EP, no one should read this, how much input did he have on that, or was most of it already written when he came on?
We actually fully recorded that EP without even having a vocalist. Like we went into the studio as an instrumental band, and we not the plan. The plan was always to get a vocalist, but we went and recorded it instrumentally. And we basically, when I reached out to Justin, he was asking to hear the music. We sent him those recordings from the EP, so he listened to those and wrote to it and sent me like demo like audition type things, and it worked out great. But yeah, those were all written before we even knew who was going to be a vocalist.
Nice. So he kind of just perfectly slipped right into the picture.
Yeah. He
Nice.
actually like joined pretty much a week before our first show. Like I was talking to him end of December, and we had a show January 1st, not first, sorry, January 7th. So I was talking to him. I was just like, hey, we actually have this show on the 7th. We don't really know what we're doing because we don't have a vocalist. I was like, do you want to just do the show with us? He's like, yeah, sure. So he like literally, I think he started writing January 1st, and he had like a week to just do these vocals and come meet us and jam. So within a couple days, he showed up. He drove down to my house, and we rehearsed, and we played our first show. And it was like the first time we'd ever even met in person. We just got on stage and played, and we were just like, yeah, we vibe really well. So it worked out from there. That was kind of like when it became official that like that was the lineup.
Nice. It's kind of good that you guys were able to click so quickly, considering you had that first show within a week's time. I mean, there's so many bands, even when they find that right singer, it takes time to meld as a group. And what would you say contributed to you guys clicking so quickly?
That's a good question because I honestly don't even know. If I was in Justin's shoes, I would have been like really weirded out driving, to meet people I've never met before and play a show with them. But I don't know. I guess I mean me and him have a lot of things in common anyway. Like when we were like texting to like while he was kind of working on the songs, like he plays League of Legends too, and I played it a lot. So we were like talking about that, and I think like we sort of had a lot in common and things to talk about before that. So once he showed up, it was like we were pretty much. I wouldn't say we were like necessarily friends because it was still our first time meeting, but we were like still we were close. So and everyone just kind of gelled together right away, and it was a lot of fun, and especially it's interesting doing it that way because I feel like if we had a lineup and we'd been practicing for months, the show would feel so different. Whereas like when it was just kind of like Justin showed up, I'm like, hey, we got this great vocalist now. Let's just go and kill the show. And like we practiced one day, the next day we played the show, kind of just not overthinking it. We just kind of winged it, and it ended up being amazing.
Sometimes those are really the best shows, just like you said. You're not overthinking it. You're going out, you're doing it, you're having fun doing it, and in a way, that's kind of what it boils down to. At the end of the day, I think there are tons of videos on YouTube of your early performances with Ice Tower. I mean, the energy that you bring as a group is just insane. I mean, I'm surprised you guys don't wear yourselves out before the end of the set.
uh, yeah, I mean, we all love just doing it. I mean, it's partly just the music just draws that energy out of you. But we all just want to put on a fun performance. We all want to give it our all and go 100%. And it is tiring, but you don't even really notice it in the moment it's kind of, you just have so much adrenaline from playing the show that it doesn't really hit you until after the set's done. It's kind of the same thing. It's like if I bang up my hand while I'm playing drums, I don't notice it until like an hour after the set anyway, because just you're just so like energized and excited from everything that's going on. But I mean, we've done some tours now, and doing that every night, it's kind of like you would think that you would wear you down and you get more and more tired, but it kind of does the opposite. It's like when you start doing it, going crazy that often every single night, you kind of just you get more and more stamina, and it just becomes easier for you. And it's like when you don't play for a long time and you go right back into it, that's when it really hits you, you know?
Actually, yeah, of course. I mean, I can imagine when the pandemic is over and you're able to get out there and do shows again. That first show might be a little rough because you're so out of it from not doing it for for a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's something that we're all really conscious of, and we're trying our best to keep up with it. Like I know Justin's been like running the set like every single day, just like in his at his house, like going doing full performance just to keep his stamina up. And it's like when we filmed our video for Overconfidence, which was our last single, it was well, first off, it was extremely hot and humid that day, so that just made everything even more exhausting. But like that was like after we played that, I knew I needed to kind of get my stamina back up because I was just we did two takes and I was like dying. So I was like, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna play a lot more and just kind of get my stamina back up because once quarantine's over, we're gonna be wanting to get out on the road right away and we want to put on the best performance that we can. So we got to make sure our stamina is up to speed with everything else we're doing.
Yeah, of course, especially with so much energy building behind your first full length album as Tallah, and I hope I haven't butchered the name of the album. Is it Matriphagy?
It's Matriphagy. I've seen a lot of people
Okay,
pronounce it differently, but yeah, we're going with Matriphagy.
Matriphagy. I probably butchered it half a dozen times since getting the singles. And been playing them on the show. But Matriphagy is a very interesting title. Where does it come from? What's the meaning behind it?
So, the concept of the album, I can't 100% talk on Justin's behalf because he writes all the lyrics. So like this kind of story is like it's better being explained from him, which I'm going to plug. We actually have a concept series on our YouTube channel where Justin goes through each song and just explains the concept in detail. So if you want all the details, people can go check that out. But essentially, the concept of the album is that it's about a guy whose mother's extremely overbearing and keeps him extremely sheltered and locked in this house pretty much his entire life. I think he's in his 20s and he's never been outside of this building. He only knows his mom, and he's got all these questions and just wants to break free from his mother's hold or whatever. And he goes crazy and ends up killing his mom, and all this crazy stuff happens. So when we were looking for an album title, Justin came over to my house and he had like all these like specific lyrics from the album, like the different songs. And we were reading through them and we found some really cool names, but like after a while we were both in agreement. We're like, we need something that just kind of sums up the album as a whole and just speak for what this is. So we were doing a lot of research on just things with mothers and like just in nature. We're like researching different animals and insects, and we actually found that apparently there's a thing where I guess if the babies are hungry or just it just happens because spiders are weird, but baby spiders will just eat their mom. They'll kill and eat their mom for whatever reason, and it's apparently called matriphagy. So after we read that, we're like, that makes perfect sense because the story is about this guy who ends up killing and eating his mom because she's being overbearing and he just needs to escape. So it's pretty much the same exact thing. So we're like, I've never heard of this word matriphagy before, but that's literally what it is, and it happens with spiders. So we're like, that sums up
Wow.
essentially what the concept's about.
Wow, wait, it's amazing when things of the real world that you didn't know exist totally fit something you've been working on
Mhm.
for so long. I can tell you, it's also got a great possibility for a good horror movie.
Mhm.
Also, besides the album that you guys have put together, and what's interesting for me as someone that's followed Tallah since you first introduced it, the five songs from the EP are on Matriphagy, and everything fits very perfectly in order for the story. Was that what the intent was with the EP, or did it just kind of happen and everything fit together the way you guys needed it to?
I think it's a little bit of both. When we first reached out to Justin, he was asking like, "Can you send me some songs?" So I sent him, I think like Kungan and Placenta, and then I just sent him the rest of the songs after that, which were those five from the EP. It was Red Light, Cottonmouth, We the Sad, Placenta, Kungan. Um, and he was just like, "All right, these are awesome." So he started writing lyrics, and he was under the impression it was a full length album. So he wrote this full concept that he wanted to write about, and he was just like, "Is it cool if I do a concept?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. I just make sure the vibes are dark and it'll match the music." So he wrote this concept, and then I guess along the lines that he had found out that it was just an EP. We only had those five songs, so he was like, "Okay." So he just kind of trimmed off all these edges to the concept and kept it just kind of like the the basic important stuff for those five songs, and that's kind of what we went with. And then once we were doing the full length, our label Earache was like, "You guys should use those five songs in the EP, make a full length album, and just take some other songs and throw them in." And Justin were like, "Well, if we're using those EP songs, we should just extend the EP into a full length album." So we from then focused on making it into a full length concept, and he, elaborated on the things he didn't get to on the EP, and now it's been extended. And writing an album with like that sort of mindset's actually a lot of fun because you get to then sort of continue the sort of style and vibe that you established with that EP and extend it and sort of evolve it. So I got to really look at those five songs and put songs in between them and do cool transitions to make them all feel like one big piece. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, they do really fit well together. The synergy throughout the album is clear. It's concise. It isn't like you go from one of the older tracks to one of the newer tracks and you get that jarring sensation because there is a difference from the fact that it was a full story from the beginning. And did you guys do anything to the original songs besides tweak them production wise? Because to me they sound outside of production, they just sound really similar to the way they did on the EP.
So for the most part, it really was just a remix to make those songs match the new songs that we tracked. So they are the original stems from when we first recorded it. It's all the same drum parts, guitar parts, vocal takes. Everything's the same, but we remixed it, did different EQs to make it match the new songs. But we did add some new elements to them to make them, not feel like the same songs are getting released after 2 years. So we added tons of like samples, industrial sounds. We added some turntables to some of those songs. So there are elements that we added, but they are still the same takes from the EP.
Very cool. That's something a lot of bands often they hesitate to do. They'll either take it exactly as it was, or they redo it completely, and you kind of have people scratching their heads going, okay, well, which version is the right version?
Mm-hmm.
And it was good to hear that your label actually encouraged you to use it because usually the labels will try to say to get away from that self-produced EP so that you belong mainly to the label and you fit the label's image. So it sounds like Lyric is being really, really good with working with you guys.
Hmm. Yeah, now they've done amazing stuff. So we love working with them, and it was really cool to kind of see these songs get re-released and now get added to all these like Spotify playlists and stuff that we weren't added to originally. Like our Spotify numbers have gone way up because Earache has done a great job, getting them into these different playlists with all these other great bands, and now we're just getting out there to more people, which is awesome. Because those songs we I think the label was under the same impression that like you don't want those to kind of go to waste because they were really good songs on that EP. And if we just put out a brand new album with new songs, then those wouldn't get the type of promotion and exposure that they deserved. So I think it was a really good idea to be able to get these out to more people now, and it's really working out for us. I think.
It also allows the newer fans to Tower to be able to understand where you guys started from, where you came from, and to understand the progression of the band. That way you don't have the old school fans saying, well, you should have been here when they first did it,
Hmm.
versus the new school fans that sit there and go, I never heard this song before.
Yeah.
And, it's with that weird, weird vibe
Hmm.
on the show. So you guys are putting this out October 2nd.
Hmm.
That's when Matriphagy comes out. And I know you guys were originally hoping to put it out earlier because of the pandemic. And I know right now, next year is still very much up in the air. But right now, what plans do you guys have set or close to set going forward with Tyler?
Obviously, I think the same thing that a lot of other bands are is just hoping that we can get out on the road and play festivals, when everything's over. And right now, like bands are getting booked on, future tours that are planned for 2021 and stuff like that. So we're getting our agents kind of going around and trying to get us on whatever we can, just in case, because it's better to be on these things and they get canceled rather than just sit around and say, oh, it's never going to happen, and then if it does happen, we're not on anything. So we're just hoping, trying to submit and get on whatever we can, and if it falls through because the pandemic's still going on, then it's like at least we tried and we were close. But as far as what we can do, like right now, we actually are doing something pretty cool. I'm not going to talk about it in detail too much because we're still trying to keep it a secret, but
Sure.
we're putting something together. It'll come out either with or around the release date, and it's going to give people a really clear vision of what we're trying to do with our art, and it'll give them probably the closest thing that they can get to like a live experience from us. And we're going to really push the limits and push ourselves to make sure that this thing comes out as good as possible, and it just kind of encapsulates everything that this album is trying to show and stand for and push visually and artistically. So we're really pushing our creativity with this, and I'm excited to get it out. So we are doing things behind the scenes to keep pushing and keep getting out there, even though we're literally stuck at home.
Well, that's good to hear, Max. I'm glad to hear that you guys are ready to rock for the future, wherever it gets started. We're all excited. I'm excited for October 2nd for you guys to release Matriphagy. Everyone go out there and get it. Pre-order it. You guys have some good pre-order packages out there, so make sure everyone go out and pre-order it. Get that Matriphagy. Max, as always, before I let you go, I gotta ask you what of the allowed singles, because I do have the whole album, but I know the legalities and all, and I hate teasing the audience like this.
Mhm.
But of the allowed singles, which is your preferred favorite for the audience to hear on the radio side?
I would say Overconfidence, which is the last one we just dropped. That's probably my favorite one that we put out so far. And I think it just really shows what Tala is and what we're trying to do. It kind of takes all the elements that we have and puts them right out there for people to hear like right away. And it's a really driving, heavy song, but it's still like, it's not too chaotic where it's like, might turn people off. It still has a really good, chorus and everything, but it's heavy. It's got everything that we want, so I think that'd be a good one.
Awesome. Well, you guys on the radio side, get ready for this. This is Tower with Overconfidence. And those of you on the YouTube side, thank you for watching. Max, thank you as always
Thanks
for
for
the
having me.
time. My pleasure, my honor. Enjoy Overconfidence and don't pre-order Matriphagy.